I know why we're not recording. That's fine though. I forgot. I I had to take my portable hard drive home on Friday because I was splicing out like that extra hour and a half at the end of the Kickstarter stream. I forgot to bring it back. And of course I always make sure that I'm recording, but today I can't record. So I'm just gonna take the stream directly from Twitch after work and upload that directly. At least I get to see if not recording has any impact on our audio delay. But I don't think that it will, because I've been here after hours, and obviously I have to have my streaming computer awake in order to actually hear sound, so it's kind of annoying. But even if I'm just doing work here, not streaming, I still have to have that computer on, and I've noticed the shift, the audio delay happening even without streaming or recording. So I don't know, at this point it's either OBS or it's my capture card. I hope it's OBS, but I don't think it is OBS. I don't think it is, sadly. We're backing into the chasm today. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted there because I forgot we're not recording. We're backing into the chasm today because we are finally moving this forward, and there's still work to be done here that I want to have shored up before we start jumping in and making the level, and I think that's going to happen relatively rapidly. So I don't want to have these half-assed tools or any issues in place by the time we do that. Over the weekend, on Saturday, what I did was I moved over the character from the Immersive Sim Toolkit into here, and I refactored it. And so we have our third person character here with all of the custom movement and all the things that we wanted. And it's all working. I did a few changes to the character movement controller, although it's kind of, I think there's some bugs with it. But either way, that aside, I got the character in, and I don't know why the leaning is weird. Maybe one of those changes that I did. But the good news is we have it in, and we can just move forward with this. And this will be really good for testing, because before it was just the trace with like an automatic teleportation. Now we actually have the mantling and the climbing as we wanted. So that's great. I don't know why he leans to the side. I might have unhooked something or fucked with something. I'll write it down. Character leans. What the fuck? It's not important. It's not important. What is important is that we need to make a list of everything that actually needs to get done here. Like Santa, we're going to make a list, check it twice, and that list is going to be for necessary changes and refactors to existing platforming mechanics. And I also know that I still wanted to move a lot of logic over to data assets. I had an idea in my head for that, but I kind of forgot it after so much time. All I know is that it's annoying to have to make children for when you want to modify some underlying existing way that a platform is working. And right now we have an issue where if I want, let's say, a spinning, obstacle with an arm, I can't modify that spinning obstacle with arms. I have to make a child of the platform itself, and then that becomes the, the child arm. I don't like that, and you can't modify it. I'd rather have like a data asset that you can plug into it to read from its parameters, because making a duplicate data asset, even if it's just like, you know, an override, is way better. It saves so much time. And just like you can right now choose the child arm actor, I would love to have an override for like child arm actor data override or something, right? And if the data assets structure doesn't match the structure of the data that is actually read by that actor, then it just wouldn't work. And we can spit out an error or something for that. That's at least the kind of the plan that I had in my mind. Oh my god, Amakira, thank you for writing a book. Absolutely most hilarious thing happened. Okay, Blast is running a Dota LAN. Oh, I'll take your word for it. China is one of the biggest, oldest, and most kinda rabid segments of the fan base Dota has. Yeah, that explains a lot. I can see it now. Haven't had a Chinese LAN in years. Pretty sure the last one was like pre-COVID. 4 Chinese teams were in the qualifiers and all 4 failed. So it's a Chinese LAN with no Chinese teams. More importantly, Amankira, Acrobat Distill was unable to create a temporary folder. I want you to know that. Twice. Can you believe that? I don't know why that happens. That is funny though. I do find that funny. Still use Adobe software? Well, yes. The one thing that I do with Adobe is I use their software. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. My wallet remains filled with my cash with regards to Adobe. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's go one at a time. Let's go one platform type at a time. And we'll make notes for each of these. We have timed platforms. We have moving platforms. We'll include surface materials here too, even though they're not platforms necessarily. Bounce pads and spinning obstacles. Timed platforms. Do we think there's anything necessary to change about these? I think the only thing that might be somewhat worth changing could be like the way that we determine if a player is standing on top of them. Because right now we just do it with this box collider, which is great if the platform is not if the platform is a box. That introduces some problems though. The problem being that on hit for a mesh does not get called when our character climbs up on top of it. I think that's true. But now with our new climbing and mantling, maybe that isn't true. We need to test that. We need to test that. Although I don't know how he would test this otherwise, other than like a collider. Maybe we can do something with a custom mesh? No, 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 no. I mean, we do update it relatively well. The only thing that doesn't get updated well is the Z scale, because I think it remains percentage of the mesh scale, so as it gets deeper like this, then this becomes a problem. But you can always move it separately. Not a massive deal, but it is annoying. On hit won't work because we can't detect if the player is not hitting it anymore. I mean, I could try to fire like an impulse, just like a really light impulse on the player while they're standing on top. With a re-triggerable delay if that hit succeeds in causing another hit on the platform. Basically, we're just constantly pushing the player down to try and re-trigger that hit until that push fails to generate that hit. And then we're like, oh, okay, so the player is not on that platform anymore. But that seems a really crude and maybe stupid way to solve it. But I could test it. BP test platform. Let's throw a cube in. And we'll say on event hit, other actor equal, get player character. We'd have to gate the logic somehow, but at least I could test the initial impulse. Is it? That was weird. It's hard to tell because I need to be moving forward in order to actually grab it. So I can't just press space when that's green. And I'm unsure if the forward movement is causing that. I can probably just make it thinner for now so that my jumping doesn't cause that. Yeah, it didn't print there. That's the issue, is that we can't even detect the initial hit like that. Okay. What up, Andrews? Hmm. I mean, if there was a way to like draw custom colliders, we could then... Or like during runtime, duplicate the mesh. Set it invisible, we just use it for collision, so we set, you know, collision to generate overlaps. And then we just, you know, move it up on the z-axis, I don't know, 5-10 centimeters. Or on the y, technically. I don't know. Oh no, it is the z. Sorry, y is Unity. And Blender, I think. Can we do that? Is there any way to grab a mesh's collision? With blueprints? Right now we don't even have custom mesh support for timed platforms. Let me see. UE5 get mesh collision blueprints. In C++, you can do get collision shape. We can get bounding box, but we don't want to get bounding box. We want to get directly the collision shape. I'm wondering if we can, if duplicating the mesh and using it to generate overlaps is a possibility. I mean, depending on how that's done, I don't think it would be that impactful. You know, we're not doing it for every mesh, we're just doing it for specific platforms. And we can always unload data layers when necessary, depending on how the level is set up. Let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Platforms timed, timed base, timed platform destroy, disappear. These, I believe you can change the mesh for, so let's see about creating a child class. We're gonna take the mesh. Do I have anything kind of weird looking? How you doing, Paxi? I have a fucking bridge. I think it's a pretty big bridge. Yes. The answer is yes. It is now smaller. That's still fucking massive though. But I guess it works for the demonstration. My goal would just be to on begin play or something. Duplicate set hidden in game, remove collision, set collision response to channel, and set to generate overlaps. Or we can have just like a child already there and just on begin play assign it. That way there's less going on at begin play. It's just it could be assigning the mesh. How you doing, Yuli? I'll set the material to something else. Like, I'm gonna keep it not hidden in game right now, but I want to. I need to see it. I need to see it. We'll move it up by 10 on the Z. Generate overlap events. No collision. Well, custom, actually. Ignore everything. Except pawn. We're going to overlap. Collision enabled. Query only. We don't need hit events. We just need the overlap. And maybe even just to make it easier, let us just right now set it to this static mesh. And then we're going to change the material on that. Something like transparent if I can. I don't know if we have anything though. Simple translucent. Yeah, actually that works. On component begin overlap. But I can't test the ongoing overlap, right? Well, I could. I could test the overlap just by enabling a function to loop. Or even just, you know, enabling like a tick event. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'll just do the tick event for now because it'll be easier to test. Oh my, I'm doing okay. Kind of a boring ass weekend, but you know, it's better than bad, right? I pretty much worked all Saturday. And then Sunday I was tired. I ate a bunch of cookies and then felt really guilty because it wasn't healthy. And then I ate a pizza and then I felt more guilty and then I felt tired and then I slept. That was my weekend. I don't know if this is the most elegant way to solve this problem, but I have confidence that it will work. God relatable. I shouldn't have bought the fucking cookies. I'm so dumb. I just shouldn't have done it. This week I'm gonna eat healthy again. I need to be on top of that. I'm just dumb. Wait, was I printing anything? No, I wasn't. Print. Okay. It is printing. I think we, you know, obviously we can make a better checker for it. The end overlap did not get triggered though. And it's because I accidentally did not set this to false. That was the only reason. It's always the booleans. Yeah, there we go. I think we can move it up even more than 10, but the general premise of this will work. I'm just unsure of how. I guess for high poly meshes, this might get a little much, but we're not actually rendering it. We're just throwing it into the geo. I don't know. I don't know. You know, flummox of candies until my girlfriend stopped me, then I crashed and fell asleep. Yeah, that pretty much sounds like what I did. They were good cookies. It's not the most consistent check. I'm wondering like what here is triggering the end overlap. You might be getting called on like one of the feet leaving. Hard to tell. Dark Souls character control. Is there one of those? No, I think this method could work. It's imperfect, but I think this method could work. Timed platforms. Box collider for check. Obviously won't work well with custom meshes. Duplicate mesh. Move collision, except for overlaps. Use that to determine. Assassin's Creed character controller? I could never make a good character controller as good as Assassin's Creed. The RAM market in Morocco is still pretty normal? Really? What are your like Moroccan sites for purchasing RAM? I didn't know you're in Morocco. Always wanted to visit Morocco. Pretty cool. I think then what we could do instead of making children, we need to make the timed platforms. Give custom mesh support as variable. That for sure will need to happen. Alright, moving on to moving platforms. I am relatively happy with where these are and the support that these have. We pretty recently did some work on these to show like the length, automatically rotates according to the spline point. We did some good stuff with this. And then we gave it additional features over here in the advanced moving platforms. There's only one part that I know about this that will not work right now, which is that I think on begin play what we do is we build information about the other moving platforms that we can trigger together, part of the spline events. The problem is that on begin play, not all of these splines might be loaded, and it could cause some problems. But wouldn't the... I mean, when any spline point got spawned in, it would call that. That is a lot to call, though, depending on how many moving platforms we have in an area. Build children, add runtime timeline events. I don't even know where we set it up. Jesus Christ. What did I do here? I thought we had a function library function for this. I'll sell you an expensive carpet. I have always wanted to visit Morocco. The food looks really good too. But right now I need to stay in Poland while some papers are processing. Or was it the check for duplicate spline IDs? I do not fucking remember. All I know is I have something running on event begin play that probably is going to cause problems. And I don't believe I fixed it. I think it is check for duplicate spline IDs. But that's just for debugging. Well, I guess not, because get all actors of class is going to fail to grab that. That is a bit of a problem. Oh, fuck. If I think back, my reasoning for doing it on event begin play was so that during runtime, when one of these events should be called, we weren't checking for the children every single time, because that could get really, really bad very quickly, especially with a lot of these in the scene. I don't know how to avoid that, though. I mean, get all actors of class is not significantly heavy. It is heavy to run each tick. It is not heavy to run when you need, because it is a hashed table of actors. So it is very fast to look it up, and it's created, you know, it's created at the start of the game. It might even be created on build, but I'm not sure about that. Is there a noticeable change in performance when we load up that area? I mean, there is a bit. 1.75 for the frame time, 1.5 on tick. Blueprint jumps up to like 0.83. Like 0.23 milliseconds for these. On the blueprint tick time. I mean, this is a pretty extreme example if you ask me. I don't think there'd be many cases of this many moving platforms available at once, and for only 0.23 tick, that's not bad. Even Gordon Ramsay voted the country with the best food in the world? Damn. Tomb Raider? I would like to, if you know, if we can make like a decent platforming game, I'd love to use this toolkit and just make more like DLC expansions. But we need good tools for that. Otherwise, I'm gonna give my level designer a heart attack. Can't go wrong with a platformer. I mean, I think that platformers are, it's a pretty competitive genre and maybe a little bit oversaturated. But I think there's still a market for platformers with really interesting themes and settings and solid mechanics. I think it's one of those genres where the entry barrier, the barrier to entry is pretty low, but the number of games that reach really good quality is quite low too. We could see about refactoring moving platform. We're just making a list of what we probably need to do, and then we can start working on it. This, I think, can still run an event begin play. That's fine. That's just adding in... Those are just adding in custom events. We almost made like custom dispatchers for this, which is quite interesting. Move fill children. Or maybe just even like remove fill children. Well, don't we try to get actor? No, because this would be... I guess we make a map of this, right? Unfilled children. Yeah, I make an associated children. This is the issue with it. And I don't want to have to run this every time we want to call an event. That would just, I feel like that would cause so much overhead. This is the issue, though. Well, I don't think you need to be an Unreal programmer to know the issue with this. I think you'll catch on pretty fast if I explain it a little bit more. These splines are not always loaded in the game, right? We don't want these to be always loaded in the game because it would just be unnecessary performance-wise. But they have events that trigger at certain sections, so we can set up custom events that, hey, when the platform reaches, like, let's say this end, fire a trigger for another platform to do whatever we want it to do. Either to, like, start moving, increase its speed, stop moving, whatever. But that needs to have a reference, and we need to actually, we need to know which one to tell. But if that spline is not loaded, the one that we need to tell to do something, then it's not, we can't pre-cache a list of objects for it. And so the only way to solve that is to, when that event, or one of the ways to solve it, when that event gets called, we attempt to find the platform with a certain ID so that we can create that link in real time. And that way we can avoid the issue of a platform not being loaded. But this then just, to me, this just causes a whole lot of performance issues because every time we need to trigger an event on one of these platforms, we're checking all of the platforms and trying to find the one that we're looking for. I don't think that under small loads this would be a big problem, but depending on how many we need to try and load, I fear that it could get pretty nasty with performance hit. But it's so dependent on use case. And I'm just wondering, like, is this worth fixing? Well, I mean, it's worth fixing to prevent invalid children from being called. But if I fix it in this way where we call it on runtime when we need it, it might be one of those things where it's like, okay, this is our limit. If this is our target platform, minimum, hardware requirements, then the most that we can have being loaded at once is, I don't know, 20. And, our level designer can work around that, right? But is there a better approach that removes that? I mean, maybe there is a way. Like, I could always force these platforms to be loaded, but not force them to be moving. Because right now, the biggest performance impact to these platforms is the updating of the timeline to move the platform kinematically. There's a few interesting ways we could solve that by making a giant collider around the player, and that collider can determine whether or not a moving platform should be moving. And that way we only prevent, we can prevent all the loaded moving platforms from being kinematically activated. Or we just, I don't know, have really good data layer control, and I don't know. Maybe the limit is the way that we do it. I just was hoping that there'd be maybe a better... Do it how the Windows guys are doing, File Explorer. Oh, so just always keep it loaded in the background instead of actually fixing it. That is kind of one of my potential options. It is worth seeing how much of a performance impact, because the only thing that I know for sure is this function can be heavy if you run it on tick, but it is and you know, doing a loop through that, right? But let's say that we know that only 10 of these are going to be loaded at any time. This is a hashed lookup, so this is actually pretty fast. And then doing 10 loops when we need it is not significantly demanding, especially if we move this to C++. Especially if we move it to C++, because in blueprints it is going to be a lot slower to do loops. But it is just making a map of f names to objects. It's not that bad. It would be bad if this was like doing 1,000 lookups or something. But doing 10, 20, even 50 of these when we need it, I don't know if it would be noticeable. I kind of wonder if we can test this really quickly. If I can just move this to run spline events. Oh, I didn't put return nodes in here. It's kind of awkward. I usually don't forget to do that. It's not important, but I just kind of do it based on... I don't know. I just do it. I always do it, and it's weird that I forgot to do it. If I run this here, I think it would still function, but it would perform that call each time. I think it would work. Yeah, it is still functioning. It is a slight uptick, but I do have a really good CPU. And I don't think it's the proper test for it, but it's not bad. It's not ideal, but it's not bad. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, moving the platforms kinematically is more expensive than doing that call every time we need to run an event. Yeah, hell, moving the player is more expensive. I mean, I start moving my character, look how much the tick jumps up. But it is, you know, it's the player character. We have to do that. I don't think I need to worry. I think we can absolutely do move fill children to run every event call, which should avoid invalid children references. Or it's not even invalid references, it's just initial children fill not finding potentially valid children. Five gigabytes of RAM idle? For Explorer? There's no way that's true. I mean, I'm only on Windows 10 on my computer here. Where's Explorer? Only 100 megabytes idle for me. The thing is, Paxian, I don't have any idea how much we're going to need. A lot of it's going to depend on how we set up the level. So I think it's just one of those cases where I'll do my best to avoid the problem now, and then we will just do performance testing of the entire game to see if there are issues with specific sections. I think that's really the only... That's the most reasonable choice that I have right now. How you doing, Andre? Yeah, taking note of it is good. What I'm going to do is make documentation on UTrack for all these, on how to use them. Because the platforms are expensive, especially the ones with kinematic movement. So, like the moving platforms, spinning platforms too are also pretty expensive. It's not that bad though, especially if we move it to C++, if we nativize it, it shouldn't be that bad. I'm going to catch up with the level designer today and see what ideas he has for the level. This is not the build, this is in-engine, so it will be more performant once we actually make the build. I might be worrying over nothing, to be honest. I don't know if our target hardware is going to be like a GTX 970 or something, but I don't want this to be one of those, you know, UE5 slop, you need a 5090 to run it kind of games. I definitely do not want that. But if anything, that's going to come down to GPU, not the CPU, and this is all running on CPU, for the most part. I don't think this has much of an impact on the GPU. I could be wrong about that. It's a bit. It's not horrible though. I think it is automatically culling some things. We just need to be aware of it. Unreal Engine 5.1 simulator game. Unreal Engine 5.1 did not run well, did it? Oh, I had an error. Bounding box visit. Weird. Be more optimal way of doing platforms. I don't know what it would be. I mean, you have to move them kinematically. And some methods of moving them kinematically will not generate the events that you need. Stalker I thought was getting upgraded to 5.5. But I agree that it sucks just because Stalker was one of those early 5.0 games that you just got fucked over by. 5.0 to 5.2 was pretty shit for Unreal. And any game that was built on those versions is just going to be like most of those wanted to use Nanite and Lumen because it's, you know, it's a marketing point and they might be able to get help from publishers with that. GPU based or some magical. Well, I don't know if... I mean, there's two different things, right? So what I was testing there was, if I do stat game, this is CPU time that's being called. So from a CPU perspective, though I do have a good CPU, this isn't that bad. From a GPU perspective, though, I wonder what's really getting hit here. Let's compare this. It's probably honestly just like shadows and bullshit like that. Oh, thank you so much for stretching that. $1.73 in the post-processing, temporal, we have TSR costing 1.4. Not that. Shadow depth 73. A little bit. Where's the cost being so significant? Is it the shadows, like shadow projection? Lumen 0.12. Lumen reflections. Shadows a little bit. Like lighting lumen and bullshit. Sounds about right. Just lumen being a bitch, like usual. I'm not watching One Punch Man Season 3. Is it the same with the spinning platforms too? .73, Lumina 0.3. It's lighting. It's just all lighting bullshit. This is not much of an issue. This is kind of an annoying thing that won't happen in game. It's for debug boxes. I don't know why this still fails to find it when I do a validity check right there. Kind of obnoxious. Your level building guide makes the levels and put it in platforms depending on how hard it is to update them if you wanted to fix it later. It shouldn't be difficult to fix how we move it later, if that's the issue or if that could be improved. Like, for instance, if we wanted to only have platforms actively moving when the player gets in range, that's easy to do, right? If we just want to throw like a giant sphere collider on the player and use that to tell any loaded actors to start ticking, not a problem. Not a problem at all. I mean, what likely Godot is doing is just old school screen space global illumination, which is very passable. I mean, Arc Raiders uses SSGI or uses RTXGI. There's very little I don't know. You can tell when Lumen or like ray tracing makes a scene look better, it's so noticeable. When it doesn't, it's hard to notice, but it still costs a lot. It's kind of annoying. It just needs to become cheaper. Make an Arc Raiders character controller? I can't make good character controllers because I don't know what I'm doing with like animations and all that shit. That comes down to like, you know, you need a 3Cs designer to work with a talented animator and just refine. And I'm neither of those things. How are we skipping this validation check? Was it preventing the debug box? Was it deleting the debug box properly? No, it's still there. I have a weird problem with that debug box. I don't really understand it. Lumen makes the good better and the bad worse. Agree. It's great when Lumen works well. I don't know where I heard this quote. From me. Or I always used to say like it has higher highs but lower lows. Stuff is alien to me. I try not to touch it unless I get to the point of needing to, like animation, same. I mean, it has an overhead or does weird stuff happen? Lumen doesn't have an overhead necessarily, not like Nanite. It's just very expensive to have enabled as a whole. And you get a lot of artifacting, flickering, and pixelization. A lot of light leaking too, depending on scene. It takes a lot of work to make Lumen look good without those artifacts that hurt immersion. And no matter if you have the artifacts or don't have them, the cost of running Lumen is expensive. Very, very expensive technology. Because it's ray tracing, right? And there's two things. There's ray traced global illumination, and then there's ray traced reflections. And you can have one or both of these enabled. And they are both expensive. I mean, if we're making a game, you know, like only up, right? It's like a precision platformer, rage platformer kind of game. I don't think that we necessarily need to have a significant number of moving, like kinematically moving platforms in a single scene. So I don't know, I don't think the performance hit is going to be as bad as it could be if it was just like some giant open, you can see 1,000 moving platforms at once kind of scene, and we're not going to be doing that. So there is a limit. There is going to be a stress test where we have to find our minimum target hardware and then test with that. But I don't think we need to go too crazy with trying to optimize the shit out of that, especially when no matter what we do, if that optimizes the CPU, the GPU hit because we do want to use Lumen is still going to be pretty hefty, and we arguably are going to save a lot more time and effort optimizing GPU usage and lumen, as opposed to focusing too much on the CPU. There's a bit of a trade-off here. Like, great, we can run it on a 5th gen i5, but you still need a 3070 to run it, and it's like, well, who the fuck out here is running a 3070 with a 5th gen i5? Nobody. Is it running on Samsung fridge? Alright, surface materials. Surface materials do have a problem right now, but it is animation. It's an animation issue. I need to reach out to one of my colleagues because I don't know how to fix this character controller. So right now the ice is working as it should, as you can see it. But the problem is that something with this animation blueprint keeps the character's feet moving, even if they're supposed to be sliding, so it just looks really weird. But from a physics standpoint, this is functional. And then I think there was also an issue with this, where it gets increasingly fast. And it isn't slowing down in the way that it should be. I need to look into why that's not working the way that it used to. So that's a bit of an issue. Nathan Drake. It's pushing him in the direction that it should, but it's like it continually is. He's not losing momentum like he used to with the old character controller. And I don't understand why. And there's no momentum loss. Something to do with, like the velocity, and I don't know if it's tied to the character, movement component, or if it's tied to the animation blueprint. Very weird. So they are kind of functional, kind of not functional blueprints or animations causing an issue. I don't know what it is. We need to look into that. What's weird to me is that when, like with Borderlands 4, for instance, it just forced lumen usage, and I don't know if there was a specific reason for that. You couldn't even disable it with console commands. And I don't know if they did, I don't know if they did that because there was some technological need to have it enabled, because if you're supposed to be able to bump your global illumination and reflection settings down far enough that it disables lumen and it goes back to using screen space, global illumination, and reflections. I don't know what Borderlands 4 did, but they've just ruined that game's performance. Maybe Paxion. They didn't want like screenshots of people that were trying to actually get it to run at a decent frame rate, but without lumen. Weird. It's annoying that id Tech relies on ray tracing. Does it? I mean, id Tech's a pretty streamlined engine. Probably didn't look good. Well, the game didn't even look good with lumen in some cases. I think that there were some levels their lighting looked great, and some that it didn't. Probably one of the worst AAA uses of Unreal Engine that I've seen so far. Except for Nanite. Nanite did a pretty good job. But I think with the stylization of the Borderlands series and the cell shading, they didn't need to use Nanite necessarily. Weird choices. Yeah, they did a day-night cycle, yeah. With all these visual design laws they made, I think so too. Bounce pads. Do bounce pads need any improvement or fixes? Bounce pads, we do hit tests. Does Indiana Jones require an RT GPU? Wasn't the new Indiana Jones Unreal Engine though? I still have to play it. The game did look good though. The character falling animations are a little bit silly. But I don't really care about that. There is one weird thing where the player will climb up like static meshes that are bouncing on it. Don't make a Fall Guys game? It wouldn't be. We're looking to make a single player precision platformer. It is id Tech across a dedicated ray tracing GPU. That's pretty wild. I don't know if there's any immediate change that I need to make to bounce pads other than the data asset support. Because we recently did add the support for turning off bouncing on all sides except for the top. That was quite nice. Oh. It would be third person, like this. I have no needs to change this for bounce pads right now. Apart from this, but that's going to be done for all of them. I hate those kinds of games. They piss me off. Yes, that is the that's the goal. That is exactly that. You guessed it. My main goals though are to make the character controlling really solid, because I think that a lot of these precision platformers they rely too much on making the game hard because the character themselves are hard to control. And I wanted to make one where not only did we not just like, you know, make asset slop, grab some asset pack on fab and just throw random objects at different scales. You know, the only up style, right? Which is, it's cheap to do, it's easy to do. But rather make a good controlling character in a unique world with our own assets. Yeah, the egg game is cool. I didn't really want to make like an egg or I am bread kind of game though, where you're controlling some weird food. Okay, with the floppy stick. No, I think those games are cool. But there's a lot of those games where it's like, oh, precision platformer, but now you're an egg. Now you're a dildo or something. It's cool. But I want to lean more into like interesting world and narrative kind of route to it. The initial idea that I like Jack and Dexter, kind of. I'll tell you what I pitched to the level designer, and he's going to be working on thinking of a premise for this. This was just like, okay, so I just said this based on some screenshots that I pulled. Sci-fi. You're an industrial miner. Elevator that brings you back to the surface of some mining planet broke. Management thinks you're dead. Some earthquake, whatever reason, doesn't matter. Game revolves around you finding your way out of the hole with toxic sludge or something at the bottom. Climb broken and barely functional parts of the mining facility. Do day-night cycles if we want, making it easier to see things during the day, and then during night it's all dark and spoopy, horror vibes. Something like that. Something that just feels more cohesive than asset swap, has good character controlling, and more about delivering that experience as opposed to, you know, haha, you are now moving food item kind of thing. Bounce pads. No major immediate need for a change apart from data assets. Support. Experiment coming out of something to sci-fi theme, pretty much. It's something like that. Unique world, unique story, unique premise. Custom assets. Good lighting. Good character controlling. And we want the challenge to come from the platforming itself, not from, oh, my character isn't doing what I want and it's making me upset kind of thing. Spinning. Any changes that we need to make to spinning? I did check recently and this old issue seems to not exist anymore. You guys remember when we were making this first? And as the spinning platforms came down, they would like push your character into the ground and it would kind of like fuck up. And so we had to make some rules for their usage. On the downward arc, if the player is standing on something, the physics will attempt to push the player into the ground, which will fail, and then the player will be ejected sideways. I'm pretty sure that no longer happens. And I don't know if it was like a change with this character movement or what it was. But if I stand here, it now pushes me off as it was supposed to. Which is a good thing. Old limitation because of original character is now no longer an issue. I think if we wanted to have like a story, I would rely mostly on audio elements and visual elements, not here, read this text log. Who the fuck wants to do that when they're platforming, right? But if there are like some audio logs to listen to, some nice ambient music, or just some environmental storytelling, I think that that would be really nice. Son meets a companion. Did I make this? I did. I mean, this is just a test level for the mechanics that we made. And to like show developers how they're working and stuff. And so if you're like, how did, you know, if my level designer's like, how did he make this platform in the test map, you can just click on it and see how I made it. I'm trying to do these for all my games now, because I think they're a really good way. They're like built-in documentation and examples. We can change material instances per arm and on base mesh. Really nice. This is ice. Well, you should be doing in-game developer unless you're confident enough to not. What do you mean? Making these levels? Obstacles. Do we need any change? I think the only change is that might not need limitation on vertical spinners anymore. New CMC doesn't seem to have this issue. Everything else should be okay because this has custom mesh and custom actor support. So of course we can put bounce pads on these really easily. Yeah, I think having these playgrounds is great because they're like little testing levels. They're a great way for QA to just jump in and say, hey, is this still working the way it's supposed to? And they just test each one. And then level designers can, you know, see what all we can do with it and maybe get inspired. Really nice. I would still want to write actual documentation, but this is kind of just some assistance along with that. Or I can even take videos of each of these and shove it into the documentation too. It's like, okay, you can read about how it works, and here's also a video on how it works too. Ooh. Oh. Yeah, I think that's good. I like how spinning platforms and bounce pads are right now. Moving platforms just need a small touch-up that shouldn't impact performance too negatively. Timed platforms are our oldest and certainly our most in need of touching up. Yeah, the cool part with the bounce pads. There's actually a couple cool parts with that. We could do like a physical material based bounce pad where it only bounces if it has the right physical material. We can do animations on that too, that's also very doable. All of our surface materials are physical material driven, so we can have, like, this is one mesh with 3 different physical materials. And in that way, we have our mud here. And then our regular. And then the ice. And because it's physical material based too, that means it works with any of our other platforms natively. Like with this one, we have the icy platform. Or on the spinning obstacles, you can even set up the materials individually here. So we have 2 arms, but I can always add more. So we can go 4 arms. And then I can say, okay, I want... Where are the arms? Arm material overrides. I can throw it on here. We can go ice. Or we can go mud. And if we change that mesh... Where do I change the mesh again? I don't think we can change individual arm meshes. We can just change all arm meshes. We can change these to bounce pads as well. And then those will each have their own. Oh, those are very big bounce pads though. You can even apply some custom rotational offsets to them. God, that would be annoying. Dude, that would suck ass. Just bounce pads that aim outwards like that. Although, like, I think that could actually provide some pretty interesting gameplay opportunities where you have to bounce off of angled spinning bounce pads and onto something. Because they will push you, according to their normal. That could be interesting. Yeah, I was like, okay, that's kind of stupid, but no, now that I think about it, there could be some pretty cool level design based on that idea. You can disable the center too if you want, if you don't want to have anything there. So we can hide that in game, and that won't be there. You hang on for dear life? You can try. Up until you fall. Yeah, like maybe we just want those to be the normal platforms. I forget what we call those though. Oh, just the cubes. That's right. And then those are 5, 5, 2. Now they'll just be regular. And you'll slide off of this. Oh my god. Oh my god, that sucks. That's so horrible. Anybody who makes a platform like that you have to try to like stay on while it's spinning is... Dude, go to hell. Ugh. No, but it's like... It's almost perfect. This toolkit is almost there. Exactly how we want it. And I think that... as the level designer gets acquainted with the toolkit, it'll just become easier to think of cool ideas. CS:GO surfing. Well, what you could do is you could do this. So if you go and you take a moving platform with a moving platform spline, if I'm not mistaken, if you angle these points, I think it will try to angle the underlying actor too. Let me try it. I don't think I've tried this yet though. 30. 30. Moving actor is world up vector. No, same as follow spline directly. Will it actually tilt those? Oh, it fucking will. Oh my god. That is cancer. And then we set this to an icy mesh. That's horrible. Ooh. Ooh. My god. Oh, that's the worst fucking platform in the world. Ooh. Fluffy Panta. We're just testing out some of the platforms we made. Yeah, so like I don't know, the tools are here. The tools are here. And I think we can make some fun examples of this in like a separate section. So what did this do? This took me like 2 seconds to create. You mean non-fun? Fun for the viewers. Oh my god. Oh my god. Duh. I did it. Ooh. Just spam keyboard buttons though to try to stay on. There's a nice skill ceiling here though. And I feel that those who want to like speedrun the game and get really good at it could do so. That's so horrible. Series of power-up that gives you temporary abilities to do running on walls. Oh god, if I have to implement wall running, I don't even know if I could. We'll save that for the sequel. Look, I actually had to buy real Coca-Cola today because they were out of generic. Where's their code on the cap? Are they doing like a promotion? Yeah, it's real soda. You should save features for sequels. That's one of the best ways you can actually complete games, is by saying, yeah, we're just gonna save that one for the sequel. Cost too high. I don't think players like hearing that though. But the reality is, it's like you just gotta choose when you want to end the game that you're working on. And making the sequel is, you know, in some respects pretty easy because you can just take your toolkit, make new levels and new story or something, you're good to go. And then you have extra time to, okay, now let's add this high cost feature in that we couldn't in the first game. All ideas are not good ideas. This is also true. Very, very true. Bane of a game designer's existence. Telling people that their ideas... You have to tell people that their ideas suck without saying your idea sucks. Diplomatically letting your colleagues down. Alright, let me revert the changes that I did here because I don't need them. And then we'll start by doing something. I kind of want to fix this leaning. I don't know if this was happening in the first... I must have unhooked something. Maybe in, like, the animation blueprint or something. But it's kind of annoying to see the characters leaning for no reason. Where is the animation blueprint? I don't know. Here it is. I did unhook this to make it a little bit more, like, unrealistic. I don't think that was what was causing the issue, though. Maybe it was. Because I don't want realistic character movement in this project. I want semi-realistic. What did this fix? I think this fixed something with the icy surfaces. Oh no, we're leaning again. Look at this. Why? Fuck. I don't know. There is this lean amount. Maybe I unhooked something unknowingly with this. I unhooked this. That probably is it. Yeah, it was like getting stuck on the lean and wasn't interping back to 0. Yeah, that was exactly the problem. I'll just leave those two things hooked up again then. Because I need to contact an animator friend of mine and ask him if I can fix the... if he knows what I can do to fix the icy materials. I'm not unhappy with everything else, but it's just the icy material controls are horrendous. Not controls, but the way that it looks. Look at it. If I got rid of the foot locking, it fixes this issue. And what I want for it to do is to not apply any movement on ice if the player is not providing input. Because right now, obviously, I'm not applying input. It's just supposed to be sliding. But that is not sliding. The top game that you played this year made with UE5? This year? I feel like it was something that just came out. What did we play? Let me see. I mean, there was Expedition 33, and that was a good game. Probably Expedition 33. Is there like a Wikipedia page? There was the Oblivion remaster, and that was a really, really well-made remaster. That blew my mind. I never would have guessed that they had done what they did with that. In fact, I was so wrong that I predicted that there was no way in hell that they would gut all of the gameplay stuff from Unreal and splice in Creation Engine gameplay code. And that is exactly what they did. I could not have been more wrong about that. I didn't play Silent Hill F. The thing is, I'm not very good with horror games. Titan Quest 2 I also played, but that's not fully out yet. But I can say what I did play of it. It was very nice, very well made. Outer Worlds 2 is not great. Pretty good technically, though. I think Obsidian does a pretty good job with the engine. Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders was also fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, those would be my choices. Yeah, the Oblivion remaster was fucking good. I'm so, you know what excites me about the Oblivion remaster? Even though Oblivion, from like a balance standpoint, is kind of a shitty game. Great content, horrible balance. It opens up the door, not just for Virtuos, but for other studios to follow suit and rip out gameplay elements and splice in old engine code and hook it up to the rendering pipeline of Unreal 5 so that you can have graphically incredible remasters that don't reimagine the gameplay, but instead literally replicate it one for one. Like, I would love BioShock remade in Unreal Engine 5 with none of the gameplay code changed whatsoever. Can you imagine BioShock with fucking Lumen? Oh! I would come in my pants for that. Okay, character leans has been solved. We made a list. Data assets for platforming logic is going to be a longer one, so let's do everything else before we do that. Box collider for check obviously won't work well. We could work on replacing the box collider for timed platforms with a duplicated mesh. Just do a refactor to time platforms. Let's do that, but after I go to the bathroom. What other Unreal Engine games, or any game really, could benefit from a remaster in Unreal Engine 5? Obviously, I would love to see other Bethesda games like Fallout 3, which I think is what's happening. I think that Fallout 3 is getting a Virtuos Studios remaster, which would be amazing. UB. Red Dead Remastered, Resident Evil 2, 3, 4 remakes? Yeah, those were good. The Resident Evil remakes were fucking amazing. Because they actually just cared about, hey, let's remake the game. Let's not ruin the gameplay. In fact, let's even add stuff to the gameplay that makes it better while also making the game graphically incredible. It's honestly such good remakes. But I think if studios are looking for like this, the cheap way out, which is just, you know, plug in old code and let Unreal handle the rendering, or Unreal 5 handle the rendering. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see more stuff like that. It's so fucking cold in here. Is my heater actually on? It's so damn cold. I'm freezing. It is on. It is on. At this point, I gotta, like, I don't know, load up some graphically intensive game in the background so my PCs can start pumping out heat. Okay, timed platforms. Should be pretty lean. We do have some logic hooked up to begin and end overlap. Bum 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 bum. Let's duplicate the mesh. I think it still has to be visible, but... oh, I'm not sure. We do want to draw, just... hide it. Attach it to the base static mesh. Let's move it up 15. We could set this up to be a custom variable too. Overlap mesh Z offset. Default of 15. Wife bought $600 worth of peanut butter? There's no way you're telling the truth about that. There's no way. What do you think, some companies don't use UE5, like GTA 6 being made with Rockstar's custom engine? UE5 is not a silver bullet of game development. And depending on what you make, a custom engine can provide you with more familiar tools, more control, and better performance because of that. Like Unreal Engine 5 is like a do everything kind of engine, right? So you wouldn't necessarily want to use it if you are only making, I don't know, 2D platformers. You're going to get much better performance out of just using something much leaner or making your own engine and just continually improving that from game to game. And that's kind of what Rockstar does. They have their own engine, they know their code base, they have engineers that have worked there for probably decades that know the Rockstar's, know the Rockstar engine, and they make immersive sims within their engine. They only make that. They don't really make anything else. So they can kind of just keep it super lean, super focused, and they have pre-existing code for platforms that they know have worked, right? For because of GTA and Red Dead Redemption. It's a smart move. Witcher 4 decided to go UE5? They did. I kind of understand the decision, but I also kind of don't. It was a weird choice. But I don't know internally what the Red engine was limiting them to do or how much overhead in terms of development cost it was adding. But they've probably made enough money at this point that they can add in even more overhead, and I don't know, it's got to be, it's a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game, and maybe keeping the Red engine updated was just costing them too much. Even from the engineers, not management. If I can talk, you know what I'll try to do next time, like maybe next year with Digital Dragons here in Poland, I'll try to find somebody. I'll try to find one of the engine guys for CD Projekt Red and ask them. Why not? The Polish devs are pretty open with sharing information to other Polish devs. Dark Days of Cyber. It could have been. Yeah, you know what? It could have been. I could see that happening. I could see that because Witcher 3's production was pretty fucked up behind the scenes, and it's a miracle that game turned out as well as it did. Cyberpunk. Well, we all know how that launched, especially if you were a PlayStation user. Hey yo, Dramox, thanks for the resub.
Dramox just subscribe.
How's it going, man?
Shiitake?
Yes. Got rejected by every girl in Roblox, so I trained. What does that mean? What does that actually mean in this case? Oh, we need to set the mesh equal to this mesh too. Only if it is valid. Ever gonna do some game AI stuff? Do you mean like NPCs? You know, that kind of AI? Yes. I mostly let Cuthbert handle that because he's more knowledgeable. Because he's a gameplay programmer who is wanting to specialize in, you know, like traditional NPC AI. Like, we need a new term for that nowadays, because if I say that he specializes in AI, you know, it's like red flag central over here. I think we have to get all the materials for it. And shitty AI, if you say game AI, people won't understand what you mean. Yeah. Struggling with that even when writing. Yeah, it's annoying. I don't know if it'll bitch at me if I don't plug in the material though. Just won't do anything. I need like an empty material. I mean, it's gonna be hidden in game, but obviously I don't want to be visible like this. There's gotta be like an invisible or empty material or something, right? Empty. M shader simple translucent invis. I guess. Not gonna bitch at me about shader complexity? I mean, it kind of... It would only be in-engine though, right? Because if we're hiding that mesh in-game, then we shouldn't ever see that. So I don't think it would render it. I could be wrong about that. Whether to hide the primitive in-game. It would still have to render the primitive, but it wouldn't draw the primitive. So it would still do a draw call. I don't know. Prompt engineer. If you call yourself a prompt engineer, you might as well just say that you don't have any actual skills. Delicate Santa passed away. Can characters step up on node generate hit events? Yes. Custom. Query only. Ignore all. Overlap pawn. Shouldn't be able to step on that. Good. Like Guild Wars 1 OST. This is Starbound. Specifically, Nomads. Passacaglia. The song. Good game, good soundtrack. Get player character. Not this one, ideally. Actually, could I just move this up to be the same logic as up here temporarily? Switch this out. I mean, theoretically that should work for more wild static meshes. And that way we aren't relying on a box collider. Starts pretty quickly though. For being 15 on the Z, that restarts pretty quickly. Maybe the player just does jump that high. At least I don't think this one is any different. Oh yeah, remove the collision when it gets disappeared. Well, it should be doable, and then we can just provide that as a variable, so theoretically we can move this up. And even with the player jumping on it, it shouldn't stop. Or, yeah. I just don't know if 15 is a good middle ground here, especially when we have the box collider way lower at like 5 or 6. Maybe I'll move the default down to like 10 or something. Do any of the children of this require the box collider for any reason? I don't think so. No, this is just geometry collection, main mesh, and the overlap mesh isn't going to have any collision anyway, so we don't need to do anything with that. I think it's good. Officially dethrone Pyro software for the worst code ever. Render had issues reading alpha channels for your glass, so instead of refactoring it to use proper GOB format, are coding every glass material in game for each model. Nice. I mean, if the game gets made and is fun, the only, you know, I understand the statement of if the game is good and is fun, does the code matter? It does still matter. It just doesn't matter to the player that much. But if your code is such a spaghetti mess that you can't realistically fix bugs or expand on it in the way that players might want or expect, especially if it's like live service, I think that does matter, and it does matter to the player. On platforms that move really fast, maybe just for a brief moment, like the square gray ones in Mario, or another game that could be used as a platform. Oh, I get what you're saying. There is going to be a speed limit on how fast the platforms can move, unfortunately. But you mean ones, clarify if what I'm thinking is incorrect or if you're thinking of something different. Do you mean like platforms that will do like a quick burst, pause, burst, pause, burst, pause, that kind of thing? Quick burst, pause. It can be done. It can be done. The refactor has to happen first, though. But I do like it. Yeah, I do think that having dirty code is not like some... It's just one of those things that, yes, you can still make a game with dirty code, but if you want to expand on that dirty code, here's what a good way to put it. I went to a presentation a couple years ago on tech debt, and I really liked it because I'm not a programmer, and you know, it was nice to learn from that perspective what was considered tech debt, you know, because I had just like a vague understanding and what could cause it. And what he said was great. You're always creating tech debt, always. What matters is how much and when you have to repay it, because sometimes you may not need to repay that debt. But if you you know, theoretically, if you're going to continue to work on the project, at some point you're probably going to have to pay back all the debt that you're creating along the way. And so creating the sloppy code is creating debt. And, you know, like, I don't know, let's say like Undertale or something. If people wanted an expansion to that or a DLC, you know, there might be some of that sloppy underlying state tree code that is going to be really hard to build on. It's just, you know, it's just one of those things. Where have you made it, and how much is it? What's the cost of refactoring this? Yeah, some people bitch about taking too long for updates to come out. That every update is breaking shit or break. Yeah, well, exactly. I think that it's exactly the point. If it takes too long, it's like either your velocity is low because you're a solo developer, right? I get that you want to be a solo developer, but at some point, people are going to have those expectations of you because their favorite games that they pay equal amounts of money for with bigger studios are printing out updates every like 2 months, and you're taking 6 months for something that is very small. Sorry, but the customer is always right, and in this case, they want more frequent updates. You have to make that choice. Either you're okay with it, you're okay with the velocity, and the players need to understand that, or you need to hire some more people with the money that you made. And then, you know, breaking save games or breaking issue, you know, that's more dangerous. And that is where that spaghetti code is going to be a problem. Or the people who, you know, are using AI to code, but then they don't understand how to actually fix the issue because they never understood the issue in the first place. And then they just go around in AI loops for hours, not fixing the problem because they don't understand the problem. I mean, I think that a game with a lot of choices takes long just because you have to manage and organize those choices, right? I took a look at the code issues that Pirate Software had in this game, and in a lot of cases, they weren't actual issues. They were people who think that you have infinite amounts of time to refactor in game dev, arguing that he should have refactored, but it's just not the case. I think in some ways his issue with his game is not that he can't make it, but that I think he wants to make it without anyone else helping. But he can't do all the things he thought he could do himself. If he just worked on the systems in the back end and managing how everything led into each other, made some good tools, you just hire a narrative designer or something and let them go ham. I haven't seen all of his examples though. I've just seen some of them and people complaining about it, and they were like either placeholder code, or it was code that wasn't meant to do anything else and isn't meant to be expanded upon. Fine, if not everything needs to be modular and expandable if you know that it's not going to be used anywhere else or expanded upon in some way. If you know that the player can only hold 5 inventory items, it's okay to do a for loop between 0 and 4. Put it that way. You prototype something, you saw it works okay-ish, then you go straight to production with it. Yes. I don't disagree with you, but I think there was some nitpicking with what he was writing. But I think he'd gain a lot of respect with people if he just said, look, I thought that I could manage all of these branching narratives myself. I can't. I'm going to take some of this money that you guys gave me, and we're going to hire a narrative designer. Or 2. His custom DRM is absolute shit, by the way. It doesn't work. Checking we even showed on our Kickstarter streams on Friday that you can just unlock achievements. And people have been spoofing Steam for years. If he knew anything about pirating games, which you would think because his name is called Pirate Software, but it sounds like he actually doesn't pirate any software, he would know that people have been spoofing Steam for years. This should work. I don't know if we need to do anything else to this box collider for now. But let me test it. It's the boots of Corpus. I try not to be so hypocritical, but I think every human is hypocritical in different ways. I'm not here to defend the corpos, but sometimes not everything they do is wrong, or for the wrong reasons. And sometimes I think it's easy to see decisions made by corporations that are both, you could consider them anti-consumer, but they're also just, they're business decisions. You can't support a game if the game isn't making money to support it. It's just kind of the sad reality. Yeah, that looks good. We need the custom mesh support. What did we call this on other platforms? I don't know if we just call it custom mesh or something else. Why don't I see it? Did we make it a separate child and we didn't give it specific... Mesh override. Child arm mesh. That's kind of weird. We'll just call it mesh override. Minecraft. Wait, what? Minecraft server? I thought he just wasn't working on his game anymore at all. What's his game called? What's his game called? Heartbound or something? Is it? Jesus Christ, dude, he had that many people buy it? It's not even out? Jesus fucking Christ. How much money does that guy have? I don't even have any money and I still can finish a game. I mean, he made a new build ID 6 hours ago. Heartburn? Both came from all the scam trains? Well, I don't know how many of these owners are actual purchasers, because the game doesn't seem to go on sale for more than 20% maximum. I mean, safely there's 100,000 owners. This is based on reviews though, and traditionally you might have higher review counts uh, on a game made by like a content creator, because they can like, you know, they can give actions to their chatters. So more money streaming than Heartbound will ever achieve. Well, maybe that's why he's doing it. It's his priority. So it came out 7 years ago, almost to the date. He's at least pricing it fairly. It doesn't get a whole lot of updates though. Yeah, I mean, it's not even significant, because it's like, look at this. This is just a change of like a few kilobytes. This had a bit more. But you'd think if it was adding like new maps and new, you know, anything new art related, it would be a lot more than just a few kilobytes. Because the art stuff isn't going to compress well. Constantly updates. Are Game Maker games easy to like decompile so you can see exactly what changed? Unlike you know, like an Unreal bundle or something. I wouldn't. Fair. Fair. Mostly negative. We're releasing a monthly update patch until it is finished. Yeah, I'm gonna X to doubt on that one, because these monthly update patches are so fucking tiny. I mean, it says there's new stuff. It just, I don't know. Maybe it does compress pretty well. It's not really that significant though for 1 month of work. Especially with that much money. Like, I could understand if somebody was putting out that much content, you know, and they were just like a solo dev with no money. But I mean, this guy's sitting on at least a couple $100,000 in revenue. He could be pumping that into actually getting some content made. Made roughly $1 million on it? Jesus Christ. So I guess you can't discuss the game. Even locks the patch. Bro, what the fuck? You can't discuss my game at all. It's like r/art. Is Pirate Software Neo-Diogenes? Are we uncovering the truth? Because of the trolls. I mean, if your game is in early access hell for 7 years and doesn't come out, I mean, I don't know what you expect. I mean, say what you want. At least Toby Fox is actually doing something. Isn't this basically like the same kind of game, but it actually gets made? I don't know. What the fuck do I know? I mean, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's a different kind of game. But from what I understand of Heartbound, it's the same kind of choice-driven adventure game with mini games and bosses that Undertale and Deltarune are. But Undertale and Deltarune are actually released titles. Play devil's advocate, I think Thor's doing too many stuff. Heartbound, Minecraft stuff, Ferret Rescue, streaming 12 hours. Yeah, but then why... What is the Minecraft shit he's doing? Like, if he knows that his core goal is to make the game, then you either need to hire people to help you make the game, hire people to take over the Ferret Rescue, stop dicking around on Minecraft so much, and you're streaming the game's development. Just sit down and do it. You just make the timeline. Where's viewers? The MMO? What is? Minecraft? What Minecraft MMO? Yeah, and I mean, he took people's money. If it was just like a free game that he was working on and wasn't charging money for it, sure, but like, he has charged money for this. You know what I mean? Your rescue costs 20 to 30k per month. That's a lot of money. How many ferrets does he rescue? Does he hire people that... Because if he's hiring people that are, are working on that, then yeah, I could see that costing that much. But in which case, it shouldn't take up that much of his time, because he's not... he's not the one doing it. Yeah, we can do it this way. He just enjoys it being a Game Master people controller, and the only way he can do that is in Minecraft? My god. I don't even know what he's doing with this Minecraft thing. So he's making a Minecraft server? Why? Yeah, let's put it here. Splice it in there. Doesn't government support that type of business? What do you mean? Oh, the ferret rescue? He probably could get some grants and some assistance. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not. It might depend on state as well, but you could absolutely work off of some donations for that. Like, not a non-profit, but you know, like a for-profit charity or something. Yeah, you would probably get some tax benefits. I mean, I know firsthand making some choice-driven game is really fucking difficult. Look at Colden Chronicles. But the reason I prototyped Colden Chronicles was so that I could say, okay, I clearly cannot do this myself. When we actually make the game, we need to hire one writer full-time, and we also need a narrative designer. So we would have 2 people on the story for that. And I even thought that we might need 3 people. 2 writers and 1 narrative designer. So, you know, that's just what I would choose. Okay. It should allow us to change the underlying mesh then. And we should see the outline get updated too. We can also delete the box collider. I don't think that's in use anywhere anymore. Yeah, we're good. Mesh override. I don't know, is there like a barrel or something? Yeah. Okay, it's obviously scaled very weird, but technically it should still work. Yes. Bootyful. Yeah, just check these out. Doing a scale override would be nice too. I might take this cube and make like a generic platform out of it. Then we could like use that for like testing purposes or for these demonstration purposes. Let me find it. I thought I did this though. Okay, I can't update the redirector. Why? Okay, whatever. Whatever. I don't fucking care. I'll move that in here though. Testing cube. Let's go to the modeling. We'll try to scale this up a bit. Can I not just scale that? 552. Can't I re-export that? Oh, there we go. You can bake the updated scale. Okay. Beautiful. So we'll just call this SM platform base. And we'll use that as the replacement for these. Speaking of distractions, this month we will be jumping into KCD2 a little bit when we can. But that depends on if I feel like I have done what I wanted to do in the day. And then I want to do at least 2 days of charity streams, potentially 3. But I need to get that set up, and they have not sent me the info yet to do that, which is annoying. But I think it'll be sent out today. That's the plan, at least. Then 19th will be our Goaty stream, and then the rest is holidays up through the 1st. So the 2nd, which would be, well, you know what? I might just take off like Thursday, Friday, and then we would come back on 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th. There's no point just coming back for Friday and then just calling it for the weekend. So I might just do the 2 weeks of holidays. We need to get the stream calendar for 2026 made. But that's the plan. And for the charity streams, we'll probably just be playing some games with like crowd control enabled. And you guys will be able to get a bundle of games for like 35 bucks. I don't think they've announced those games yet. Or maybe they have. And then any money we make from crowd control will go to Make-A-Wish as well. Have they announced yet? Bingle Jam. I think it does start today, but I don't think they've shared the games that you'll get. Yet. Get to use commands in free game. So it's not free games. If you pay, it's through their own site. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to donate. There'll be a special link for it, and you'll get a bundle of games if you donate at least a minimum amount. The commands though for crowd control will be separate to the 35 for the game bundle. And that will just be if you want to donate beyond 35, but then have some fun stuff in game, or if you don't care about the games, but you want to do fun shit. I wish I could merge it or marry it a little bit better, but... well, maybe. I don't know. I'm not like an official partner or anything. I've just done like the... you can apply to be part of the Jingle Jam. If that makes sense. Okay, let's move the overlap mesh Z offset into a separate category. Like just mesh overrides or something. Timers, overlay. That should work. Well, it should have moved up above billboard, but it doesn't show it. Maybe you just need to restart the editor. Probably. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that then. Moving platforms move fill children to run every event call, which should avoid initial children fill not finding potentially valid children. Okay, so we can probably move off the... event begin play fill children and then just move it to the event call itself. Would be what I think we can do here. Platforms. Moving. Oh, because it should be in the base. Spline. Forgot it was all part of this one. So we skip this here, and instead on run spline events, we throw it here, because if spline events is empty, we don't need to call this. And I don't think there will be that many splines that use the events, but this will help to limit the performance impact. We can rebuild this every time we run it, as long as, again, spline events is not empty. We will just run a quick clear. And then I can remove... there's a blueprint function in my data layer switchers. This check for duplicate spline ID. This was meant for debugging. We could leave that there. I could even throw it in here, but I feel like it's a pretty intensive function. Hey, Hypnotic, thanks for the raid. Happy Monday, guys.
Hypnotic podkreślenie Games raided my stream with 31 viewers.
Yes, he did, Polish man. And thank you so much for the follow, Gravewalker. How's it going today? What are you guys working on? Were you working on a porn game, maybe? How's the Unreal? It's going well. We're just chilling out today. Doing some refactoring. I heard funny boys. Thanks for the follow. I hope that's me. Updated NPC behavior tree, fix some bugs. Nice, nice, nice. Have you tried using state trees yet? I don't know if you're also working in Unreal. You tell me. I hope so. My mom says I'm funny. She also says I'm special. And that I am challenged. Those are all good things, right? Godot all the way, okay. Good engine. Your mom lied, she told me last... Shut up! I hope you treated her well. I don't know if I want to run this every time we run an event. Let's hold off on that for now. It's just for debugging anyway. Can I act PG-13 in front of all the kiddies, but you straight up said what? Wait, when have I ever acted anything other than R-rated on this? Let's go see him. Gotta turn off those debug. Okay, it is running normally. That's good. The left spline has triggers for when it reaches the beginning and end, which then fires triggers to the middle spline and the spline on the right. I thought the middle spline did something too, but maybe I'm wrong. I think it's just the left spline that controls. Yeah, it looks good. Looks good. Performance overhead shouldn't be too much on that. I hope. Yeah, wait on start and end. A lot of features to these. Nice. That's pretty awesome. I'll throw this into a debug category. Well, that's an easy fix. I don't know how to feel about it just yet, but it is an easy fix. Bounce pads, bounce pads, bounce pads. Why do these not have a custom mesh and actor support? Isn't that weird? Or they do. Oh, because I was just updating the static mesh directly. Maybe I'll throw that as a variable. Easy refactor. Place gray block with UE5 slop rock? What is a UE5 slop rock? What does that look like? We wouldn't want there to be any sort of actor override, right? Probably not. A rock with nanite? You know, you say that. Funnily enough, rocks are pretty much what nanite was built for. Millions of polygons. I mean, I don't know if you need millions of triangles on a rock, but if you had like, I don't know, 150,000, you could do it. Rocks work very well with nanite. Let's put it that way. Yeah, the robot games. CT. Oh, I'm Chief Technology Officer now. I wouldn't put me in charge of technology. I'm doing pretty well though. Few hundred. That wouldn't be that bad. I think nanite got improvements on 5.6 or 5.7, where they now compress down even better than they used to. And they already compress down pretty well. But I don't know if that's true. I remember reading something like that. So your games are not getting bigger because of nanite. I can say that with certainty. Let's see, static mesh. Why do we have a scene root? Oh, we use the scene root for bouncing, I think. Should be fine. Nanite is crazy. You can have trillions. I mean, there's no game that functionally needs to have trillions of triangles in the scene at one time, right? There's no game yet that has needed that, but nanite can do that, and it's absolutely wild. Not every game needs nanite, but the games that do need nanite can absolutely benefit from it. There was a good one recently with nanite foliage. And this was before it was even fully out. I think it was this one. I know this guy. He's a tech artist, by the way. And this is, I think, 200 trillion triangles or something. There's 1 million, 20 million poly trees created in Houdini. So this is... Oops. 1 million... times 20 million. 20 trillion triangles. Running in real time. And that's only the trees, it's not even considering the cliff faces. That's impressive. Very impressive. That was back from July. Okay, if it's true, use the mesh override. Otherwise, we can fall back to our platform base. I mean, I think that you can, in a lot of ways, get better performance from LODs, but it depends on use case. The issue with LODs is that you have the pop-in, and it's very noticeable. I don't think a lot of players notice nanite when it's working, though, which kind of makes it difficult for players to justify to players. Like, yeah, we use nanite. It has this overhead. I mean, there isn't much of a fade-in effect that you'll see with nanite. The point of nanite is to be imperceptible. I personally have not seen any fade-in effect with nanite. You might get like texture fade-in, like material fade-in, but that would be different from the mesh's geometry itself. And that would be up to data streaming, so that would be like... Oh, with traditional LODs? Yeah. Maybe some projects or some engines do it better, but most engines you're gonna see it. It just depends on how many LODs there are and what the difference in quality is between those. And you have to update those oftentimes manually depending on the mesh. Especially for like characters, skeletal meshes. And they added skeletal mesh support for nanite in I think 5.3, which is great. By default. It'll be nice if all engines can just get rid of LODs by default and, you know, have the mesh virtualization, but there's a lot of games that just don't need it. especially with DirectX 12 and Vulkan, because they batch handle draw calls, so they are a lot more efficient with draw calls than like DirectX 11. And there's a lot of cases, a lot of games that just you're not going to need to handle that many static meshes where Nanite has a performance overhead compared to draw calls. However, Nanite improves the scene by reducing or removing pretty much entirely the that LOD changing. So you get much more natural scenes where you know, if you have a binoculars or something and you zoom in, even if it's just, you know, reducing the FOV to have a zoom in effect, you won't notice the lack of LOD, because it will just still have that same level of detail. Because it's based on your scene or your viewport, not your distance to the mesh itself. I think. I think Nanite's based on viewport, not distance. I'd have to double check that. Thank Fortnite for all these innovations. Thanks, Fortnite. Fork knife. Okay. Obviously that fucked up these. Jesus Christ. That's better. Custom mesh on these needs to be changed back here. Is there any reason why we might want to not have the player just scale the actor itself? For bounce pads? Like, it doesn't mess with the billboard. It's not going to mess with the arrow. So I don't think we need to have like an override on the mesh scale. I did an insight. Day's going okay. Boring weekend. Had this tech in for years, just perfecting everything with their endless money to make their game better. Like I said, I think it's really hard to justify Nanite to players, because players don't really care about the input, they care about the end results, and the end results of Nanite are not very noticeable to like the layman. But because I know what to look for with Nanite, I can appreciate it. But it's so subtle. You know, when a game has LOD popping, you notice it, but when it doesn't have LOD popping, you don't notice it because it isn't happening. You know, it's like a TV show with really good sound design and really good, you know, it edits well. When it has that, you don't notice it. You get into it, you get immersed. But when it has bad sound editing and it just, like, you know, cuts a music track between two scenes, it's like, oh, that just happened. Yeah, I think Unreal 5 came out too soon though. I don't know. I think they needed to cook for another like year or two before releasing Unreal 5. Because all the early Unreal Engine 5 games got fucked with horrible performance. The removal of physics. What a choice. Okay, this should still be working just fine. Yeah, they seem to be working just fine. Oop. It's a little jump. That's the only one thing that we might want to change about the climbing is I don't really like that the player can just climb any static mesh like that. But I don't know. We do have control over that. We have a component that can be used to turn off climbing, and we can always default that you can't climb unless we explicitly allow climbing. So right now we allow you to climb even if there is no explicit allowance, so. That can be adjusted. I'm gonna turn off those mantle checks. Debug none. Debug none, debug none. Debug. Turn off, turn off. Turn off, turn off. Okay. Did we want to scale override on the time platforms, or are they actually going to work? I think they'll work now just fine as expected because... Oh. I don't know, scale might still be a bit fucked up. We might want to put in documentation that better to be careful about scaling up a timed platform on the Z. But you can manually adjust it for the overlap offset. Include in documentation that scaling timed platforms may need manual tweaking to the overlap offset on the Z. That looks better. Currently, spinning platforms do not allow for individual arm mesh choices. You either you choose a custom actor and it applies to all arms, but you can handle that individually. It might be nice to have a refactor sometime to update that. Don't know how necessary it is in the short term though. We'll save that as a, we will update it if the level designer calls for it. I think those are okay. We might save the data asset refactor for tomorrow then. Everything else should be good though. Let me go to the bathroom. Let me go to the bathroom and then we'll think about it.
Atano just subscribed, subbed while has asked because he don't need to know smirk.
I see it here. You subbed while I'm AFK? Ugh. Gross. You weirdo. Why does the... Oh, I should change that. I should change the default of these from the SM cube and 552 on the scale to our platform base. Fuck, that's so many of them that I have to update though. I'll do it. I'll do it, you little bitch. Come here. Arms. Child arm mesh. Oh, it doesn't even have a default. Should we give it a default? I gave it a default. Scale is 111. Okay. If I turn these back to normal, well, some of these do have multiple scales. Fuck you. You. Bitch. The only thing I don't like is that this debug box doesn't seem to draw necessarily correctly on the Z, and I don't know why. Do not know why. Not super important though. Okay, these can be... Oh, those are showing default. Those are okay. These show default. These shouldn't matter. We might have just cleared those. Oh yeah, because actor is only used if mesh is set to null. That's right. How you doing, Kent? Everything good, Rob? Yeah, it's okay. Just a quiet, shitty Monday, you know, like usual. Ate too many cookies on the weekend. Bills are high. I don't know why our gas and electric bill was very high. It was very high for November. I don't know why. I mean, electricity I can kind of understand because I don't know why it was so high. I don't know. What are you gonna do? More exposed. 100 a month. We paid, I think it was like a total of like 250 USD a month for gas and electricity combined. It's somewhere around that. It's expensive. I didn't even think we were using that much gas, but I don't know, maybe it's more expensive than I thought. Yeah, it's in Poland. I don't know. It's a bit too much. I don't know why we're paying that much. Maybe it's just gotten more expensive or something. What's the price of gas and electricity in Poland for a 35 square meter apartment with 2 people? Let's see what Grok thinks of it. Kurwa. Maybe I heard it wrong. I don't know. I gotta ask my wife. Maybe I misheard. I don't know. Maybe I misheard it. But whatever it was, it sounded high. I don't know if we're using it for heating though, because we have radiators, but they are water fed. I don't believe I think they contribute to the electricity, but we're not using it for heating. We're just using the gas for heating water and, you know, for like bathroom and sinks, and then gas for our stove. I don't know. I don't know. I gotta ask her. She might be working right now, but let me send her a message on the Discord. Where she be? Honey, this is important. What was our gas and electricity bill again? You're just complaining that I forget things all the time. Twitch chat wants to know, yeah. I take measures that would reduce the time cost of development from 2 to 3 years worth of development down to just a year, and this is working on an MMO like WoW with a framework that has all the systems made. An MMO like WoW? And you think you can get it down to a year? Shut up, Kent. What would you know? Oh, wait. I mean, you have like all the networking and security set up too, and socialization features. I mean, you said MVP though, so maybe not. Is there a reason you can't use like Cinti assets or something? Jinxie007, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Bounce pads, those should be using the new platform. These are using the new platform. Surface materials are we're just using cubes. We're testing that. This I know is not in the right data layer. I will fix that real quick. I mean, if you just want to design stuff to test it out, then by all means, you should just kind of throw things in there. But if you're wondering if like people will be upset with copy paste content, yeah. Yeah, in a lot of cases they might. What about the moving platforms? Do the moving platforms have the updated? I don't want any of our platforms using the old cube. This one probably, you know what I'll do? I'll just look at this and check the reference viewer. Geometry collection can use it, that's fine. Just these two need to be updated. Gameplay's good enough. I mean, how much are you willing to spend? Because like, even if you don't have like a whole lot of money, you can buy the Cinti pass. They also have their sale going on right now. And this is how much? I think it's actually cheaper if you don't buy it through Poland. You can just check your own. This will get you access to the entire library of theirs. I mean, and at least in that way you would have something visually looking good there. I don't know how vague the EULA is. I read that too. But it looks like it should be okay. With the licensing, they did kind of expand upon it some more. Already good at environment building. So like if you're already good at environment building, you have the assets. Can you find like a level designer to work with or something? It kind of just sounds like you should just put the time in and just do it. Do what you need to do. Why did this say it was still being referenced here? The defaults or something? I don't see it being referenced anywhere. Maybe it's that redirector. Is it because of my source control? still says it's referenced here. Where? Oh. I see it. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but you're asking to procrastinate on something that would have a direct impact on how players feel about the content that they're experiencing. You know, I get your point though. You know, it's if the gameplay is good, why not just reuse some assets? But I feel like you could just make some prefabs at that point and have them, like, you know, like randomly generate. So like make a prefab, I don't know what your game is, but let's say like a bandit camp, and then just have it on the construction script decide whether or not to spawn different objects in or whatever. You know, make some prefabs, and that way you can place prefabs down, and then you'll be spending a significantly less amount of time making the prefabs, and then you'll have some variety, right? So maybe that's like the middle ground here, is you don't have to hand make everything. Hand make some prefabs, do some randomization of props within them on like the construction script, and then just place them around the world as you want. I mean, if you're just testing gameplay, though, I don't think you need to make too much like. If you're wanting to test gameplay, you know, make 1 or 2 levels exactly up to snuff how you would want it in the final version. Don't skimp. And if that's fun, then people will like that scaled up. But if you have like 20% of the game looking that good and then the rest of the 80% looking like shite, you know, what kind of message does that send? And that's not the answer is obvious kind of thing. It is a very much the answer is up in the air. Oh, shite. Do not envy your kidneys. I don't think this hurts my kidneys too badly, does it? Actually, drinking more of this can help prevent kidney stones. Alright, I'm happy with the refactoring we did today, kind of, except this. I'm not happy with this. I'm going to fix this right now. I am now happy with this. I'm not happy with this. I am now happy with this. I was happy, and then I saw an issue, and then I fixed it, and I was happy again. Then I saw another issue, and I became unhappy, and then I fixed that issue, and I'm happy again. I am now happy. And to prove it, I'm going to balance on this icy platform until I reach the end. I'm not happy anymore because I fell. the ice even working? I feel like the normal. Oh, it is. It's just that feet issue that I need to get solved. It's making it hard to determine if it's actually a working properly or not, but it is. Yeah, it looks really weird. I have no idea what to change. I have no clue. Animations are a weak point. Yeah, what we need to have happen, this character controller is very complex compared to what I've worked with, and the animation graph too. I need, if the player is not providing input on icy ground, I need for the feet to not move at all. I need the character to slide like they're on ice. The problem is that I think something with the feet IK automatically moves the feet if it's detecting motion. I don't know how to resolve that. So it looks really fucking weird when the character is on ice, even though the physics are working as intended, the animations are absolutely not. Yeah, it's something with the procedural animation. I don't know. I don't know anything about how to resolve that. I need to talk to somebody who does. And get them to help me out with it. But I think for somebody who knows what they're looking for, it'll be an easy thing to adjust. Yeah. It just looks silly right now. But we'll try to get that updated. Maybe you want to use the ALS controller? It's a nice controller, and it has built-in animations. It's very nice. But I had to make some custom changes to it for both projects, for both this and the Immersive Sim Toolkit. So we're not using the default controller, but we are using a modified version for each of them. What does this all lead to? Is there a game in mind? For this, yes. Yes, there is. Although we had to modify it because the old artist did what happens on projects like this and just ghosted. But now Rex, we have Rex, and Rex is going to work on the art for it, but we're going to change it over to sci-fi theme. And my friend who's a level designer finally got a job, so he has time to work on it without stressing himself out about money. So my job will still remain the same. It'll be direction, mechanics, and dealing with some other back-end bullshit for it. Level designer is going to focus on the level itself, working with Rex for the art, and Rex probably will handle the lighting too for it. So I will be like jumping in, jumping out where needed for like UI stuff or core mechanics, adding in like collectibles or audio logs if we want those. Yes, I'm the idea guy, yeah. Except I also do work. We now call build children on each event call, monitor performance on that. What did we also do? Wait. Character cleaning. The only thing I don't like about I love the content section of a game because it's really fun. Because it's like you don't have to touch anything and generally it's not going to cause bugs. But it's also kind of boring. It's like, oh, just add in more content here. Oh, we refactored timed platforms to use duplicate mesh now instead of box collider. That's an important one. Some good changes today. Very subtle, but that'll help. We still need to make documentation for all of this. But it's a good start. And yes, the project is called KYS. I don't know how Steam is gonna like that name though, so we have a backup name, just in case. It kind of worked when the game was meant to be more memey, but if we're gonna lean into something else, we're gonna rename it. Into the Chasm is the current working title, but if it's gonna be like this sci-fi mining platform accident kind of game, I think we can find a better name for it. But I'm gonna worry about that later when we actually have something going on with it. CP Island Adventure. Shut up. That will get me in trouble. I know how much you want me to make merchandise that says I love CP and then it says coin pusher beneath it. I'm gonna get in trouble if I do that though. Let's jump over to Kingdom Come Deliverance. Oh, I really wish I was recording this. Because, like, for game development, I fucked up this morning. I'm just gonna be honest, I fucked up this morning. I forgot to bring my hard drive back to work because I took it home on Friday. So that I could edit the Kickstarter video. To remove that, like, 1.5 hours at the end of it that was just us chatting. I forgot to bring it back, so we're not recording today, which is okay for development because I can just download the stream VOD, but it's at lower bitrate. But for gameplay, I don't want the bitrate of the stream VOD. But I don't think I can just plug in my backup hard drive. I'd have to restart the stream. I'd have to end the stream for like 10 seconds, plug in my hard drive, set up the download folder, and then just restart it. Kind of annoying. I'd do that anyway though, because I need to restart my capture card for the audio delay. I'll do that. You know that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has crowd control support as well? I was considering enabling that. But I feel like that would just hamper my ability to finish the main quest. Actually, do I have my backup hard drive here? Did I take that home too? Do I actually not have my hard drive here? I think I took both my hard drives home. Oops. Let's see if I have enough internal storage for... No, we can do it. I just need to check if I have enough internal storage on that computer because I just put like a 256 gigabyte. Yeah, there's enough for it on my C drive. That's the only thing that I have on that computer. Can I change that midstream though? No. We can do more Star Citizen, but I feel like I've kind of reached the end of the line with the content for that game. At least the content that I want to engage in for now. It's not that it's not fun, but it's just like, do you want to see me haul boxes for like 3 hours? Play Kingdom Come? No. I have a streaming computer and a work computer. What you're seeing now is my work computer, and I have a capture card, and my streaming computer handles the encoding and the recording. On Friday, because I was recording the Kickstarter reviews, I didn't turn off the recording once we started yapping for like an hour and a half at the end of the video. So I took my hard drive home, my external drive that I record with, and I edited that video to cut off the end. I forgot to bring that back. There's another. You guys you don't like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Like, we're gonna play it, I just need to restart my stream. We have space. It's just this is my only drive. But we have space. I had a second backup drive here, and I also took that home. So I have none of my backup drives, so I just have to save it to the C drive is what's gonna happen. Kind of annoying. And then I'll just upload that and delete it afterwards and make sure that I bring it for tomorrow. I think Shadowrun returns when it was free on GOG. No. I don't know if I have any of the Shadowrun games already though. I do. I have Shadowrun Chronicles, Dragonfall Hong Kong, and Returns on Steam. And Gemcraft. Clean desktop. How you doing, Kuko? It's not completely clean. I use Stardock fences to organize, which is really nice. Although I do have some stuff from when I was updating my portfolio that I gotta clean up. I can move those. These. Control X. There we go. Now it's clean. No, give me 1 second. So what's gonna happen? I turn off my stream for 10 seconds. I update the recording folder. I turn back on the stream, and we're good to go. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's update over to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. BRB. If you don't see me return in like 10 seconds, just refresh because I'll be back. But sometimes Twitch doesn't update it properly. I need a folder to put this in though. New folder. Backup stream. Dump. That should work. Okay, BRB.